Hello everyone, and welcome back to Heretic, where today we'll be playing Episode 3, The Dome of Despair. I will also be using the Raven MIDI pack this time around, which replaces some of the songs we already heard with new ones, and they sound quite nice. So with that, we are starting off on the first mission of Episode 3. We're just going to be walking around here for a while and let those three wizards shoot around as much as possible. Trying to ignore everything as much as I can, and standing behind this small pillar torch thing in order to let the mages in the back infight with just about everything here. I'm gonna kill this gargoyle because I think he's infighting with the undead warrior there, and the undead warrior is capable of killing a disciple there, so it would be nice if they could manage to do that. And if I can get those gargoyles to shoot at those disciples as well, that would be lovely, but not overly expecting it. They obviously want to keep shooting me as much as they can. You are entirely safe behind those torches, so it is a pretty safe place to be. But mostly I'm not shooting too much because there's just not that much ammo on this level, and I'd like to preserve as much as possible. Pressing this button lowers several items in that room, one of which is the Dragon Claw. There is a backpack over there, and it does appear that most of the wizards are still alive, but hopefully the undead warrior has at least dealt some damage. And two of them are already dead now, so that was obviously quite worthwhile. And I'm just going to be fighting this last one with my elven wand over here. There is one still behind me, but usually they don't shoot you when you're standing next to this wall, so it's not too big of an issue. And this last one is sitting in that room and is a little bit tedious, so I'd like to just take care of him, so I do not have to think about him for the remainder of this level. Before moving on, I will just open two of these doors because they contain ammo. All the doors are open, but two of them just have nothing behind it, so it's not really worthwhile. And with all this, we are going to the next area, which contains a fire gargoyle and a regular one. And you can kind of cause some infighting here as well, but I'm feeling confident that with the infighting we have managed to cause so far, our ammo situation is probably fine, but I will be switching back and forth between weapons every now and then. Using the Dragon Claw in this area as well. I'm just gonna wake everyone up, shoot over here to wake up that were-dragon, and get immediately surrounded by every single one of these saber claws. That didn't go entirely as planned. Preferably, again, you can cause some infighting here, but because I just shot kind of wildly there to try and get out, I'm just gonna take care of business here. Using the Elven Wand against Saber Claws works just fine because they cannot actually get close enough to attack you when that happens. And the were-dragons are still shooting in my direction as well, so hopefully some of them are going to be fighting the Saber Claws there. My health is not great. Also, there is still an unexplored area behind us up those stairs, so I'd rather be at least a little bit careful. But it does seem like we didn't aggro anything from behind that unexplored area, so that is good. Just gonna take care of these remaining ones. The gargoyles are fighting amongst themselves. There is a chaos device over there, which is gonna be useful later, kind of. I mean, for as useful as a chaos device can be, it's really just slightly speeds up the process at this level. Because we will need to go back to the start, as the place where we fought that one wizard behind the gates also has the yellow key door, and we are going towards the yellow key right now. Killing this remaining saber claw to get the armor power up. Our health is not ideal, but it should hopefully be okay, provided I don't take too much damage from the were-dragons in this place. Those are really the main worry that I have, but if you stand kind of around the corner here, they will generally just be shooting the pillars next to you and not really be too much trouble, but you do need to play it a little bit safe. My ammo, as you can see, is lowering with every single Dragon Claw that we are fighting. Dragon Claw is definitely not an enemy, but Saber Claws and were-dragons are, so you get the idea. And with that, grabbing as much ammo as we can. I think I grabbed some wand. Yeah, I grabbed a lot of wand ammo, actually. I should be using this thing a little bit more, probably. A couple more gargoyles, which mostly it's the fire ones which are really causing any issue at all, because they will just chip you down. There's not a lot of health in this level, so it is imperative that you stay careful. Next to this window, there is some health, and it can be easy to miss these health power-ups over here, but also the key. And with this key, we're going back to the start of the level to open up this door. Now, since my health is kind of low, I'm going to play this a little bit safer than I ordinarily would and use this torch over here. Behind this torch you are entirely safe, and the 3 ghost undead warriors over here are not actually capable of hitting you, so it makes the starting situation of that fight a little bit easier to handle, as there are 3 of them throwing axes at you, and they are all going to be red due to the fact that they are ghostly undead warriors. But that gave us the green key, and with that we can go to a new enemy type, which is the Ophidian, which is a snake that shoots various projectile attacks. Once again, with projectiles you can just stand slightly around the corner, as long as you're using a hit scan weapon. You're not going to take any damage. But yeah, their projectile attacks are pretty dangerous. They can drop rocket launcher ammo, but mostly we came here to press that button, which opens up a doorway in the until so far unexplored area, and I'm just going to use that flask because I might as well. There's quite a lot of ammo here actually, so that's quite nice. And we're just going to cause as much infighting here as possible between the gargoyles. And with that, just going to fight here for a bit. There is a lich waiting for us over there, and it's a little bit tedious to deal with. There is a shadow sphere in front of us, and one thing that I have forgotten to mention so far, because I quite frankly just forgot about it, is that the shadow sphere actually works quite well against the iron liches, due to the fact that it makes their tornado attacks no longer home in on you. And also it makes you, I think, immune to the ice projectiles that they fire, so obviously that is quite a powerful combination of events. Now, since I'm quite safe here, I'd rather just shoot this one from up here, because there is going to be another Iron Lich in a slightly more awkward position, and I'd rather just deal with the one with the Shadow Sphere when it's actually a little bit more difficult. But with that, that one's dead. We're just gonna have to wait for a second here for this thing to wear off, but that shouldn't be too big of an issue. Kill a couple of gargoyles while this tornado chases us for the rest of its existence. And press a button here which lowers both the area where we have to go and also lowers that wall, which has a whole bunch of gargoyles behind it, but no problem at all. At this point my ammo situation's not that bad anymore, so I can just do whatever I want, but this button lowers this floor over here, otherwise you cannot quite reach it. There is a flight power-up which is going to be needed to reach the first secret area, and also a Tome of Power, which is also in this level. The first secret is this ring. You need to actually step on this platform to trigger the "a secret has been revealed" text, otherwise you will not get it. And you do need the flight power up to get up there, so if you miss it, you miss it, and that would be unfortunate. But we have a Ring of Invincibility and a Shadow Sphere, and obviously that is a pretty good combination of items to get rid of a single Lich. There is also another Ophidian over here, but once again, not too big of a deal. And with the Shadow Sphere, that tornado is not really going to be doing much, so we can just sort of stand here and just shoot him from like that, and this really makes Iron Liches considerably easier to fight. There is a Hell Staff over here, which for the purposes of this playthrough is not truly interesting because we already have all kills and secrets at this point. But we can just sort of shimmy around all of these tornadoes and exit the level like that. Pretty cool level, pretty difficult start to an episode, all things considered, because there really is just the wand and the dragon claw that you can use as weapons. There is ammo for the crossbow, but I don't think it spawns in single player. I think it might spawn in multiplayer, so you get a little bit of an easier time in multiplayer regardless, but even with all the extra weapons as well, it's just a lot easier. But yeah, tricky one. And that brings us to episode 3, mission 2, the Cesspool. Now starting off, we have 2 gates holding 2 locked snakes. I will ignore them. Bunch of gargoyles. I will ignore them too. Whole bunch of stuff. There's a yellow key over there which we'll be grabbing in a second. But we are just going to instead try and ignore everything over here and just cause a whole bunch of infighting and try to shoot everything that moves. I'm not overly concerned about my health in this level, just due to the fact that there is a lot of health available. And as you can hear, everyone else is killing each other anyway, so not too much trouble. And I will just destroy these explosive balls over there, grab this Tome of Power, and kill a couple of the golems here with my trusty elven wand. And all the other enemies that are trying to destroy us. Those golems are just nice to have taken care of. This button over here lowers the yellow key. You can grab it with the flight power up, and you can also grab it by just running into it a certain way. But with this, it's just a little bit easier and less requiring of power-ups. Also, the fire mace can spawn over here. This time around, I haven't bothered to try and reset the level over and over to try to get it to spawn in the perfect place. Because once again, it has only a certain % chance of spawning. And when it spawns, it can spawn at one of 5 locations on this level. And that was the first one where it can spawn. Now with all that done, a whole bunch of the enemies have already died. I'm just going to grab some of the crossbow ammo that still remains in this place, making it a little bit easier to deal with the remaining saber claws and such. And I will just be using my flight power-up to grab this mystic urn over here, just in case I'm going to need it later for the various enemies that we will be dealing with. For now, I will just settle with all the health power-ups waiting for us over here and grab this yellow key. Now we'll just make one little loop through this place just in case, making sure that we have in fact killed all the enemies here. And might as well grab some ammo while we're at it, but it does seem like we have destroyed just about everything. And with that, we can use this yellow key on one of the 2 yellow key doors on either side here. I'm going to use it on this one first. Opening this door and walking forward actually creates a little pathway over here, so you don't need to use the yellow key from this point on anymore if you want to go to the other side. But it's nice that the option is there anyway. It's just a nice little path that it creates. Now I like to go this side first just because there is a backpack hiding for us and also an armor power-up, and that is quite useful. Plus there's a whole bunch of were-dragons over here, which is always fun. But for the most part, I wanted to get hit by an exploding barrel in the face, and that's why I truly went this way. But also the hell staff waiting for us over here. It's just nice to have for dealing with the other side of this level before moving on. Killing these remaining golems that we previously saw through the gate, but not quite all of them. We can now move back. This leads to the green key, but because I want to get all of the kills, I'd rather just go all the way back again and go through the other yellow key door, or through this little passageway over here, which we have opened up, as I said previously. And dealing with all this stuff here is just a little bit nicer when you also have the hell staff in terms of ammo management, so that is quite lovely. Over here, you may have already seen these enemies before, but there's a couple of Ophidians shooting at us from a distance, all behind gated areas. And if you just stand next to the wall, next to the torch over here rather, and directly against the wall, you can ignore the ones that are to your left currently, because they will not be able to actually shoot through that torch. And to make life even easier, there's a dragon claw over here, and you could just do this because the dragon claw goes straight through the torches once again. And yeah, this level just has a lot of little obstacles for projectiles, but not so much for the dragon claw, and it makes it very convenient to kill enemies that way. The fire mace can once again spawn over here as well. That is the 2nd out of 5 locations. And with this, we will be going to the green key through this other teleporter, which leads to the other side of the room. This side of the room is quite convenient just because most of the enemies won't actually hit you due to these 2 large pillars. And I can just kill everyone like this. They cannot actually truly get close to me, which is just a very nice thing. And also, speaking of the fire mace once again, we were not speaking about the fire mace, but at this point, we might as well mention it. It can spawn in the middle of this room as well, but not for me. Moving on. I'm going to grab these 4 hourglasses that I just previously picked up in this room, throw them sort of in the middle of the room there, and try to deal as much damage to the Ophidians that's hide behind the green key over there, which we just picked up. And once again, destroy them all. Grab a shadow sphere and leave through, well, either of these 2 portals. I never really know which one, but I think it might be this one. Yeah. Because this particular green key door, there are 2 on each side. It's just a little bit more convenient in terms of where you are and where you're fighting from, because there is a bunch of disciples of the Sparrow waiting for us here. And because there's these little barrels, it's a lot safer, just once again due to their projectiles not actually going through them. The Hell Staff is a bit useless in this place due to the fact that there are so many barrels, but if you have the Dragon Claw, you can quite easily deal with just about everything here. But then, of course, there are areas where there isn't a whole bunch of barrels blocking your projectiles, and then the Hell Staff becomes quite good again when dealing with the various enemies in this place. That just about used up all of our ammo for the Hellstaff, unfortunately, but I'd say it was worth it. Grabbing this 200 armor power-up, I will just open up this secret door. You might remember the 2 snakes waiting for us at the start of the level, and this was one of them. It also hides the Phoenix Rod, which is always a good thing to have, obviously. I will be using that quite a lot in an upcoming fight. Grabbing the Tome of Power, there is one more Ophidian getting lowered down, which is convenient because I actually kind of want to take care of the other snake at this point as well. And this brings you back to the start of the level. And right now this is a pretty good angle of dealing with this particular enemy. So we don't have to worry about that one later on, and that is lovely. Now in order to exit this level, we first of all need to press a button, which is hiding behind this door. That way. And after pressing that button, we need the blue key to actually enter the exit, because this door's locked. The blue key is hiding in this sort of warehouse box area, and we will be grabbing that in just a moment. There is one scary thing remaining in this level, and that is this particular room. After getting close to the blue key, rather. But fortunately we will be invulnerable, so it doesn't really matter too much. Plus, I'm just gonna fill up my health to full. And this would be the other green door. And from this area, from this angle, it's just a little bit more inconvenient to fight the various disciples that we fought previously, so it's just nice to have those taken care of. Now, grabbing all the things here is not too big of an issue. There is one more secret area waiting for us, and it is the one over here, where the other Ophidian was waiting for us at the start of the level. And with all this stuff, you can see the fire mace over there, which we can grab in a second. I'm just going to use up this invulnerability ring, because there's a whole bunch of disciples waiting behind this door that opens up when getting close to the blue key. And having a Phoenix Rod shoot all of them makes this fight significantly easier, and that is just lovely. Using the blue key to real quick deal with this last Lich waiting at the exit, might as well use our Shadow Sphere as well, which I forgot. And that takes care of all of the things. Now, from the blue key platform, it is quite easy to grab the fire mace, because for me, it did spawn over there. But it is also possible for the fire mace to spawn in this last room over here. Didn't really get a chance to use it, but that's fine. I don't really like using it anyway, so we're just going to exit the level with all of the kills and secrets. This level is mostly kind of a maze if you're doing it for the first time, but once you know where to go, it's not too bad. It's mostly just 2 large half circles that sort of loop into each other, so it can be quite easy to figure out where you have to go that way. So that is lovely. With that, we will be going to Episode 3, Mission 3, the Confluence. Alright, this level has 9 secrets and 6 places for the fire mace to spawn, so we're just going to open up this wall, grab a hell staff for secret number 1, and jump down to cause a commotion, because there is an Iron Lich waiting for us there in the middle of the room. There's a whole bunch of enemies that the Iron Lich can fight with that are not us, and there is a yellow key right in front of the Fire Lich where he's fighting those gargoyles on the other side of that gate. I'm just gonna run around some more, cause some more enemies to infight with each other, and then leave, because I don't particularly wish to be here. There's a couple of saber claws and a tornado currently in this room, which is why I went up. A second secret waiting for us behind this wall, which contains the crossbow, which is always nice. Hoping that door closes. And we are just going to kill the Ophidians waiting for us here with this crossbow, I think. Now we're going to get a lot of items in this level, and honestly I don't think I'm going to be using all of them, but maybe using the Tome of Power here is not the worst of ideas. But I will ignore that and instead move on. Now over here is a teleporter we cannot quite reach, and there are 2 buttons on the other room. One of them lowers the teleporter in this place, and one of them lowers the destination teleporter. And I'm not really sure why there's a button for the destination teleporter, but I suppose if you wanted to go back through it, that's convenient. Also, the fire mace can spawn here. This time it happens to have actually spawned here without me having to manipulate anything, so that's nice. But the main reason why we went there was for the green key. And with that green key, we're gonna go here, fight some more saber claws. There is a blue key door over here which we cannot really do anything with right now. But instead we are going to ignore it, and we're just going to cause some more commotion. There is a bunch of Ophidians in the middle of this room, and they cannot actually hit us for the most part while they are in the middle there. There is going to be a button that lowers this arena, but you can also make the undead warriors, which are sitting on the side there, fight the various Ophidians in this place, and it honestly makes this place a lot easier to deal with since most of them are just going to be killing each other. There's a couple of undead warriors which are throwing axes in this direction, and we can at least get a couple of the Ophidians shooting at a couple of the undead warriors there, and then we can be on our way. Just going to kill these remaining gargoyles so we don't have to deal with them later, and so they don't get lost somewhere in the level, because that would be tedious when trying to get all of the kills, obviously. And with that, I think we are just going to move on this way. There is a couple of disciples waiting for us behind this doorway, and a couple of gargoyles which are actually being surprisingly tedious right now, and also the Lich has somehow made his way over here, so I guess we're dealing with the Lich now. That's fun. That's, I guess, the downside of not dealing with him immediately, but it does explain why I suddenly took so much damage. I'm actually just going to kill these remaining gargoyles over here. They cannot actually hit me because of the torch that's over there. There probably is like some angle where they can still hit me, like right there, but okay, careful now. I will actually use a couple of the flasks that I have to heal up, because I was at 6 health or something like that. But yeah, for the most part, you're pretty much invulnerable against these guys, just because the torch over here protects you quite well. Using the Hell Staff to get rid of this remaining disciple, and starting off with the door on the left, just to kill this disciple quite easily, and then shoot through the window that the disciple would otherwise shoot through to kill us, to kill a whole bunch of gargoyles, because over here you have a pretty decent angle on the remaining enemies over here. You can kill them quite easily, you can kill that one quite easily, and overall, not much trouble. With that, we can go into this door, quickly take a side route through this secret area, where there is a backpack waiting for us. Grab a couple more flasks and things, grab a dragon claw, which is waiting for us right here, which is obviously going to make life a little bit easier as well. And with that, we can move onwards to this button, which is going to do something which I'll explain when I remember it. For now, we are just going to kill these saber claws. I believe the fire mace can spawn in that little room right there. It's one of the rooms where the saber claws are hiding in until you press that button over there that contains the fire mace. But I'm not 100% sure which one. Either way, we're going to kill all those guys. We're going to go downstairs here, go through this door, which is yet another place where the fire mace can spawn if you're lucky. But for now, we will instead just move on and kill all of the golems waiting for us in this place. I believe it's pretty much just golems, so it's not too much to worry about, but I mean, I suppose you could use a Tome of Power if you so desire. Like, they don't deal a low amount of damage with their fireballs after all, so they can be quite scary. A couple more golems on the side here. I use my Tome of Power in panic, because there was a golem behind me as well, and it nearly killed me. But it worked out, because over here there is a couple of ghostly golems, and they are a little bit harder to hit with the crossbow without using the Tome of Power, due to their ghostliness after all. So I suppose it worked out. Now that we have gone through that entire route, I'm not sure if it's the button or another thing somewhere in that area that opens up this room to the Mystic Urn, but it is quite useful. There is also a couple things here that opened up when we picked up the yellow key. I like to save them for a little bit later, just in case. And with all that, we can move on in this place. The Ophidians are still alive, and now is about as good a time as any to start shooting them, because they are still in range of not actually being able to hit us, and we can quite easily hit them. I believe all the undead warriors might actually be dead at this point, so that is quite convenient. But in a second, this place is going to lower, and then it will be a lot easier for them to kill us, so I'd rather not run the risk. With all that taken care of, we're going upstairs, where the blue key is waiting for us, and I will actually use yet another Tome of Power here, combined with my Dragon Claw, because a couple of were-dragons are going to be waiting for us behind these doors that are opening, and it's just nice to get them out of the way as quickly as possible. with the amount of damage that they can deal, especially when they're coming from both sides. It can be quite dangerous and I don't like to deal with it. Pressing that, or getting the blue key, also opens up a couple doors leading to yet another flask or two. And with the blue key we can finally enter through the blue key door where there is a couple more enemies waiting for us, so it's nice that we use our Tome of Power so that we don't need to worry about those anymore, because they die quite easily with it. Go through this secret area where there is a single undead warrior and yet another flask if we needed some more health. And over here are a couple of buttons that will open up the area there. There's also a button over here which leads to an area with a bunch of disciples in it, but I will go there in a second. It closes up immediately afterwards if you don't go in, so we should be safe from all the danger that hides behind that place. I'm gonna grab all of the stuff that is over here right now. One of which is the Phoenix Rod, which is obviously quite useful. And I'm going to use the Ring of Invincibility that we picked up somewhere in this level, just because it makes life a little bit easier in the room where we are about to go to. Also, there is another Hell Staff waiting for us. Not actually a secret area, but actually just a trap, so be a little careful. But over here, behind this place, I thought it actually closed, but I guess it closes behind you when you go in it. There is a whole bunch of disciples, and it's just a little bit tedious to kill them around corners, so I'd rather just do it this way. Pressing that button, I believe, raises the staircase to the next area, or maybe going inside the room does, and pressing that button simply just opens the door again. I truly do not know. Very obvious trap over here if you are not currently using the Ring of Invincibility, but without it, it's not as easy to tell that these are two completely different colored things, with the very big red floor hiding a single Infernal Orb, giving us a lot of Infernal ammo. Also, now that I remember, there is also a chance for the Fire Mace to spawn in this room. If you don't have it yet, it might be there, but it might also not be. There's still a couple places remaining where it can be. This one is not one such place, but there is a secret area waiting for us alongside a couple golems, a couple of Ophidians sometimes hanging out over here. They hang out at the start of the level and they just start shooting people, so it's nice to get those taken care of. Going up the stairs, I'm actually just gonna try and... That's not the weapon I wanted to use. I'm gonna try to use this weapon for once, just because I don't use it very frequently, and it's nice to see it in action from time to time. But it's pretty much a whole bunch of tiny hallways, so it kind of shines in a place like this, just due to the fact that it kills a bunch of stuff quite easily that way. Behind here is yet another Fire Mace potential location, and also a secret area, so obviously we're gonna have to go there anyway. Pressing the button over here opens a couple of doors that lead to the end of this level, and also lead to the final secret of this level. But first, we're gonna go to the other newly opened door as well, kill a couple more Saber Claws before moving on to the final bit. Over here is a door that leads to a secret, and this leads back to the start of the level. So if you haven't gotten the Hell Staff at the very start yet, and also not the Hell Staff that was earlier, a little bit later in the level, you can grab it once again. So really there's a lot of chance for you to get it. Also, I'm going to use my Shadow Sphere over here to deal with this last remaining Iron Lich. Makes life a little bit easier. Now, I did mention earlier that you don't get hit by the ice projectiles, but the shards from the ice projectiles I think you still get hit by while you have the Shadow Sphere, so that's a little bit inconvenient, but overall it does make the fights a lot easier. Now with that, we are missing one kill, so that is cool. I honestly am not 100% sure where we're missing one kill, but real quick, just gonna do a little scout of the area. There's a couple places where enemies do have a tendency to get a little bit more stuck than others, but I believe the main location would be on the other side of this green area. I think I just heard it. Over here, they do have a tendency to just be kind of walking around a lot, and that can cause some troubles in terms of killing everyone. And there you go. So that happens from time to time. You can't really do anything about it. Sometimes a Saberclaw just wants to go on an adventure, and that's the life you're gonna lead. I have so many items remaining, but Unfortunately, we're not going to take any of them to the next level, but yeah, there probably is a lot of different strategies you can do here that work just as well, or even better if you use the remaining items in this place as well. But we are just going to continue. It is a really big level, and there's a lot of things to forget, but overall, not really the most difficult level in the world, but you do need to deal with that Iron Lich at the start quite carefully. And occasionally the Iron Lich stops infighting and just goes directly towards you through the green key door, and that can cause for some interesting issues. So if you can kind of avoid that, it probably isn't a bad idea to just kill him immediately rather than try to just keep him alive for a while, because if he sneaks up on you, you just die. So always be at least a little careful of that. But we're just going to move on to Episode 3, Mission 4, the Azure Fortress. Here we start off with a bunch of waterfalls on our sides. If we look a little closer, we can see a whole bunch of disciples in there, so we're just going to ignore that and leave instead. Pressing the button to make the elevator go down and grab a ring of invincibility and a flask on the way. We're gonna kill a whole bunch of gargoyles here, just by sort of sitting around and shooting them. Not really any danger here, just hold the attack button and believe in yourself. And before you know it, all the gargoyles are gone. We picked up a dragon claw up there, and that is going to help us against these 3 Ophidians over here. And this teleporter in the middle of the room takes you back to the start of the level, where now the previously closed waterfall areas are now open. We'll be going there in just a second, but first I want to just take care of a couple things down here. Almost died, was it 3 health? But fair enough. Moving on. Whole bunch of gargoyles here. I'm just gonna aggro all of them, and then we're just gonna stand in this little corner over here where we are just next to the place where the projectiles are gonna hit a wall, and that's just very convenient. Most of these are just regular gargoyles, so we can just sort of sit around here as they try to attack us without any real danger. And with that, clear out just about the entire room with relative ease. Down here there is a crossbow, and picking up the crossbow opens up a door behind us. You might have been able to hear the disciples pretty close. And going to the edge of this staircase opens up this stained glass window with the Ophidian behind it, which counts as a secret area. Now this level has 13 secrets, so we're going to be here for a while, but at the same time, a lot of the secrets are in the same place, so it doesn't matter too much. Having grabbed all of that stuff, we're just going to quickly go to these disciples that we heard previously after we grabbed the crossbow. There is a backpack in that room, and it's just nice to have a whole bunch of crossbow ammo for this map. And with that, I am going to grab my Ring of Invincibility and use it in this room. Grab this Tome of Power, use it immediately as well, and just try to kill as many of these disciples as we can before moving on with the power of the tome. There is also a flight power-up, also that counted as 2 separate secret areas, so that is nice. And I kind of missed out on the ammo power-ups there, but I do want this tome to still be active as we go into this area. We can still briefly see the enemies here. I will also be using my Shadow Sphere real quick while the Tome of Power is still active. There's a bunch of axe throwers here, a bunch of undead warriors trying to attack us and failing because we have used that Shadow Sphere. But there's also a bunch of Ophidians on the side here. And the Ophidians are slightly more annoying, so I'm taking care of them in a specific order, where the Ophidians on the other side of the wall there. And with that, we're gonna just be moving on. We still have some time left on our Shadow Sphere. I'm gonna grab this secret area real quick. But with this Shadow Sphere, we can make one fight coming up just a little bit easier. Also, there is a morph oven here, an egg, if you will. And that egg is going to be very useful later on, so I do recommend grabbing that. But after picking up the gauntlets, there's a bunch of undead warriors who are going to try to hit us with their axes, but unfortunately fail because our Shadow Sphere is still active. And I'd like to kill these before my Shadow Sphere runs out, which just barely works if you're quick enough, so that is lovely. With that, there is currently a crusher in the middle of that room, because the moment you go through it, it starts going up and down. It does help with killing the enemies as well, which is very nice. And it saves us a little bit of ammo when dealing with all of the various enemies that hang out in this place. So that is great. There is a Mystic Urn here, a whole bunch of health power-ups in our possession. And with that, we can move on. Now, this is a good thing to open first. This is also a secret area, but you can very easily get destroyed by these enemies if you don't know about that pillar, because it's not immediately obvious what is going on, and I'll explain that in just a second after we get this secret area, clear out all the enemies over there, clear out yet another couple golems waiting for us on the other side of this room, and also a Tome of Power, which we'll be using later probably, assuming I don't forget. But the main reason why this place can be a little bit confusing if you don't know about that secret area is that if you enter this room normally, it looks like this, and it just looks like a fake wall, but you can't actually walk through it because there's just a little window that you can look through instead. So it's very easy to suddenly just get a whole bunch of golem projectiles attacking you without really knowing what's going on. But the main reason we went here was for the yellow key, and with that we can return to whence we came, which I believe is this way. There is still a couple of Ophidians left, we're just going to ignore them, have the saber claws fight them over there. We are instead going to go through the yellow key door waiting for us over here. And the Ophidians are on the other side of this wall, so we cannot currently reach them yet, but we can go down these stairs over here, kill a whole bunch of gargoyles, and slowly fight our way onwards. Now, a nice thing about this level is that it doesn't have a fire mace, so I don't have to pay any attention to that. That's really mostly just a nice thing for me. For normal players, you probably wouldn't mind a fire mace every now and then. But a green key awaits us on this staircase, and picking up that green key also opens up the walls where the Ophidians were previously visible and are now attacking us. They seem to have killed all of the saber claws, which is not overly surprising, and I'm going to use one of the torches, either one of these or one that we picked up previously, to just make this area a little bit more lit up, because it is just very dark in here and you can't really tell what's going on if you don't have the lights on, so I'd rather just be able to see. This also counts as a secret area for some reason, probably because it opens up after picking up the green key. You don't technically need to go here because the green key door was where we came from. But over here there is another secret behind this wall, which again is quite difficult to see if you don't have the torch active, but with the torch you can see that there is just a very differently patterned wall over there, so quite visible. And there is also, when you walk over here, this door opens behind you, which also counts as a secret area. And I'd like to have all these enemies be dead. And this also counts as a secret. And this also counts as a secret. So as you can tell, that adds quite a lot of numbers to the secret count there. But it also brings us back here to the green key door, where we will be using our 2 eggs that we picked up throughout the level. It kills a whole lot of were-dragons quite easily, and provided you can hit as many of them as possible, you are in no trouble at all. Now further up ahead, there is a couple of iron liches trying to attack us behind that window over there. Fortunately, because they're behind a window, the tornadoes don't actually go through, so that is very convenient. But their ice attacks and their fire attacks do still go through, and I personally do not want to deal with it too much. So I'm going to leave them alone for now until we have the Phoenix Rod, which is waiting for us up ahead over there at the end of that hallway. You might have been able to see, but maybe YouTube compression won't allow you. I honestly do not know. But we are just going to fight our way in that direction, skipping past these were-dragons, trying not to take too much damage from their projectiles, and my torch is just running out so we can see the regular lighting again. Now there's 2 areas here with were-dragons, and I'd like to just kill a couple of them like this, but you can also just open the door, because this actually counts as yet another 2 more secret areas. The moment we actually walk inside here. Otherwise these were-dragons don't really do much of anything, but if you're going for secret areas they actually become more dangerous because you can't just run past them, unfortunately. There is another switch waiting for us over here. And this switch actually opens up the level exit, but also the secret exit that is waiting for us at the end of this hallway. But we'll be coming back to that because there are still some enemies waiting for us. Now, with the Phoenix Rod, we can quite easily dispatch with these iron liches, fortunately. They do die quite quickly. And the unfortunate thing about having used our Shadow Sphere is that these enemies' ice attacks are quite powerful, so I do like to be a little careful and just use the strong weapons. Also, after going through that little hallway, it opens up the cages where the were-dragons previously were. So if you ran past them, they're actually just running all over the place at this point. But it does contain a Mystic Urn and a 200 armor power-up, so it is obviously quite useful to go in there. In here is one of the paths you can take to reach the regular exit of the level. There is a very slow elevator, and touching this excessively slow elevator also raises a whole bunch of stuff. Now this stuff also raises when you fall in one of the holes, but it's a little bit more convenient to do it this way, because then you can just shoot through the corridor like this and have no worries at all. And there's a whole bunch of ammo and stuff in this place. There's yet another torch in case you so desire, but we're just going to move on. Use the flight power up instead of the elevator, because the elevator is just very slow and I don't like dealing with it. But this brings us back to this area where we are quite close to the regular exit of the level, which is waiting for us over here, which is guarded by a singular disciple of the Sparrow there. But we are not going to the regular exit, we are going to the secret exit, which, as I said previously, hides near the Phoenix Rod location. And I think I'm just gonna use my Book of Power and just start shooting a bunch. We have plenty of items to survive, so we can do just about whatever we want. And with that, we have 13 secrets and 159 kills, and we can move on to the secret exit. Yeah, that's just a really cool level. Really like it quite a lot, and not much else can be said about it. It brings us to the next level, which is Episode 3, Mission 9, the Aquifer. Alright, here we are in a room filled with waterfalls on the outside, snakes looking at walls, gargoyles waiting for us. The moment we pick up the crossbow, it's going to open up a bunch of doors with golems, and the moment we fire a gun, all the snakes are going to be angry at everything. And we're just going to be wandering around here for a second and let everyone fight with each other. There's a couple of ghostly golems over here guarding a couple of power-ups. Also a yellow key, which is the main reason why we went to this place. And of course, the flask and the tome of power. Now hopefully all the golems are just about dead, because the Ophidians are significantly stronger than the golems when it comes to a one-on-one fight. But hopefully the golems at least did some amount of damage to them. Watch out for the iron liches that are on the other side of the gate there. You might occasionally hear them make a weird sound. Usually they probably won't shoot at you, but occasionally they'll get some fire blast in and you just take a whole bunch of damage, and you'd rather avoid that, most likely. Taking a pretty substantial amount of damage from these snakes, but that's okay. There is quite a lot of crossbow bolts in this room, so you can use some of the bolts here to start shooting at the enemies on the other side of this place, because we will be going there eventually, and it's nice to just have some enemies taken care of. There's a couple of axes being thrown in our direction, and we need to be a little careful of that, of course. Also, this door over here is not going to open for a while, so just ignore it for now. We will come back to that later. But when you're done here, I'm going to shoot just a couple more gargoyles. I'm just going to grab this last quiver and go up to the yellow key door, where we're just going to be fighting a whole bunch of stuff in a couple of neat little hallways. There's a bunch of undead warriors and gargoyles waiting for us here. Some of them are a little bit harder to see than others, so occasionally you're just going to want to use sound to your advantage to tell whether or not you've killed an enemy. For the most part, it's in the blinking areas where enemies are waiting for us. Now, one thing you may have noticed in the entirely pitch black blinking area is that there is a head on the top of this wall over there, and that means it's a door in this level at least, leading to the first secret, where also a fire mace can spawn, I do believe. But we will just grab this chaos device and then be on our merry way. Moving on, just a couple more gargoyles and undead warriors, pretty similar to the start of this hallway. Overall, not really too much trouble. Also, one thing I neglected to mention earlier is usually when you pick up a fire orb, or whatever it's called, the ammo for the rocket launcher, the Phoenix Rod if you will, it gives you one Phoenix Blast ammo. It gives you one ammo. But if you pick up the ones dropped by the Ophidians, you get like 7 on this difficulty, so occasionally you just might have completely different amounts of ammo while playing this level, just because you were lucky with what the Ophidians dropped for you. Now before moving on, there is yet another wall here with a head on top of it. We're just gonna open it once again. Secret number 2 out of 7, I do believe. This time around there is not going to be a fire mace waiting for us, unfortunately, but there is something slightly more impressive, and that is this ring of invincibility, which we'll be using a little bit later. It's kind of hard to tell where the door is when it has closed, unfortunately, but we managed to find our way out. Now these enemies, they can shoot you from the start, like they barely have vision on you if they're standing right next to the window, so you also, again, need to be a little careful, because right there in the bottom there is where the level starts off. So if you're trying to kill enemies that are outside of the gate at the start, you might accidentally get hit by them, and that would be somewhat unfortunate. I'm going to grab the Tome of Power that we picked up earlier, and after picking up this backpack, a door is going to open with a whole bunch of wizards behind it, and I'd like to take care of these first with the powers of the Tome of Power, simply because this Tome of Power is also going to be useful when dealing with the enemies over here, but it's just nice to have those wizards taken care of first, because they can be quite tedious with the weapons we currently have at our disposal. As without the Tome of Power, half of the bolts can occasionally just go through them, and this makes it a little bit easier. But also where dragons in very tight corridors, it's nice to just shoot a couple of extra strong bolts to deal with these enemies without any trouble. I'm gonna walk through the lava here, which is not technically necessary because there is a flight power-up somewhere in this level. But, I mean, the damage you take from the lava there is not so substantial that you won't survive, so I'm just not going to be worried about it too much. I'm gonna grab the health power-ups over here. We currently have 10 rockets, which is fine. It's not the most in the world, but it could be worse. And we are just gonna shoot a couple rockets, one in our face and the other at a wizard. Fortunately, the wizard did die. I'm actually just going to use both of my flasks there because I ended up taking quite a lot of damage. And I'm having some trouble navigating myself around these torches, so I'm going to try and play this a little bit carefully. It would be nice if I had a Dragon Claw at this point, but the Dragon Claw is not yet available until slightly further on in this level. So we're just going to have to make do with what we got and try not to shoot ourselves in the face with a rocket launcher much more, because our health is not really up to snuff for that. Ignoring the scary sounds outside, I'm just going to take this green key that we picked up in the wizard room earlier on this green door and move on. Only a couple gargoyles here, nothing to worry about, even though I previously said that red platform things often signs of the most obvious trap in the world. In this particular case, it's not actually the case. It's a way to get inside where those Ophidians are. But first, I'm going to just grab the Shadow Sphere, which we'll be using later, and shoot a couple rockets in there. Hopefully, they're going to drop a couple rockets for me as well. That would be nice. I think they might have. But yeah, touching one of these red blocks opens up the door, leading to a secret area and a Dragon Claw. I did get a Flame Orb, so our ammo is back at 12 rockets, so that is lovely. And we're just going to use this Dragon Claw to deal with some of the enemies over here. Now in the upcoming area, there is a Hell Staff, and picking it up will make a Crusher go up and down. And that Crusher is quite convenient with the large amount of enemies roaming this place. I'd like to cause a little bit of infighting before just running in there wildly, but I will run in there wildly because, for one, having the Hell Staff is nice, but for two, these enemies will just walk underneath the Crusher and kill themselves with it, so it is a very nice little convenience there. Watch out for the enemies on the other side of the gate once again. There's a couple of gargoyles possibly shooting at us. There is some health power-ups which we can't quite reach, and I think we need the flight power-up that's, again, somewhere in this level. I actually don't 100% sure where it is, but it's somewhere. Just take my word for it. I am certain that it exists. Just gonna pick up this blue key real quick, which opens up the doorway to a bunch of wizards, which is a little tedious to deal with those Iron Liches very close to us right now, but a couple rockets will usually get the job done. Plus we still have the Dragon Claw as well, or the Hell Staff. Plus we have the Giant Crusher in the middle here, which also works against wizards usually, provided they actually walk in the right direction, and it can be a little bit difficult to manipulate them that way because sometimes they just don't feel like it, they feel like flying, but occasionally they do go there. And again, the damage that Crushers deal to enemies is just wonderful. I'm gonna grab some of the health here. Also, a Fire Mace that is hiding for us over here. which is the second out of 4 locations where the Fire Mace can spawn in this level. A Morph Ovum, which most of the enemies we're going to fight from this point on are going to, unfortunately, be Iron Liches, but there is a couple enemies remaining, so I guess we might as well use it on something. Let's use it on that guy. There we go. Had a much easier time dealing with singular gargoyles, so that worked out. Now we walk through this teleporter, which is on the side of not the blue key door. And over here is the blue key door. And on this side there is also a teleporter. Also, when touching these shadowy arches, I suppose, that opens up the door at the start of the level, so we will return there shortly. Also, I believe the Fire Mace can also spawn somewhere in this square over here. Not yet gonna open that because, once again, I'd rather go through this teleporter first. I will just grab my Phoenix Rod real quick and my Ring of Invincibility because I don't want to deal with any of these. I think arguably the whatchamacallit, the Shadow Sphere would probably work for this area just as well, but I don't mind using it like this. I wouldn't have minded if I had a couple more rockets though, but we're just gonna have to make do with what we got, provided that we don't get too many tornadoes thrown at us. Hopefully the damage we're gonna be dealing here is gonna be more than enough to deal with the majority of them, and it seems to be going okay. There's a couple tornadoes chasing us right now. There is a flight power-up, I guess, in this area, which I picked up by accident, and also some rockets, which help out, because that's specifically the thing I wanted. Was it only one rocket? I wasn't paying close enough attention. I thought it was an Inferno Rod, but yeah, I guess it was only the one. Fair enough. Oh well. Anyway, since we're in this place, you can see that mage that's currently at the start of the level. The main reason why I cleared it out at the start is just because we're going to be teleporting into that room, and it's nice not to teleport within like 4 Ophidians that are still alive, but rather just the one disciple over here. Just makes life a little bit easier. But this door is now open. It counts as a secret area, and picking up the Mystic Urn opens up a door to another secret area, which is entirely empty, but it can also contain the Fire Mace once again. And then it would look a little bit more impressive, I suppose, but it would be nice if they had put at least another item in there, just so the thing wouldn't be completely empty. It's possible that there is actually stuff there on different difficulties, but I honestly don't know. I haven't checked. But now that we have all of that, I believe we have all the secrets. We should have 2 more kills remaining. I can use my flight power up to go up here to grab a couple more health ups there. And we are just going to be using this here Shadow Sphere to deal with the enemies that are in this room. I'm also just going to use my Tome of Power real quick and shoot a couple of these in there. A whole bunch of raindrops, which will hopefully make this fight a little bit more easier, because there is a couple of Iron Liches in there. And, well, they're not really going to be doing much because of the Shadow Sphere that I use. Pretty much everything is going to struggle actually leaving this room. So that is great. That should be all kills and secrets, and it is. And with that, we're just going to run past these 2 tornadoes at the door and leave the secret level. It's a surprisingly tricky level, honestly, because there's a lot of ways, like a lot of different orders you can kill enemies in. And depending on what you do, I mean, there's always the chance that you're going to shoot yourself in the face with a rocket. You might suddenly get a lot more rockets one time than another time, and it makes your strategies differ quite vastly, because if you still have 10 rockets at the end, you can just shoot 4 rockets inside of the blue door and they all die, and then there's no problem. But right now, because we didn't get that many rockets, had a little bit more difficulty, but that's how it goes sometimes. With that, we will be going to episode 3, mission 5, I believe. The Ophidian Lair. Now this is the first level where the Molitor is going to be a regular enemy. He's hiding next to 2 Iron Liches in that gated area over there. And if we want to, we could just ignore them entirely, but there is a Phoenix Rod next to them, so I'd rather actually dispatch them and take that weapon to make it my own. So with all this, we're just going to grab every single power up here. And then we are going to go to the one not locked area, which is over here. There's a couple of snakes there. That door opens up the moment you get close to it, and you may have heard it open earlier. And I am just going to ignore the enemies a little bit, clear out all the saber claws, and then work my way down again. try and clear out all the enemies that are trying to block our path here and there. The Ophidians are a little bit annoying to fight when they're below you, just because it's a little bit hard to see, but for the most part they shouldn't be too much trouble. Plus we have a whole bunch of flasks anyway, so we can get our health back if we so desire. There is still a couple of them still alive, but there is an armor power-up in their room, and I would like to have that real quick. And I'd like to clear out this place as much as possible before moving on to the next area. There's also a couple of Ophidians on the raised platforms there, and I probably won't bother with them right now, simply due to the fact that they usually don't do too much, provided that you're not actively trying to kill them. So with that, I'm just going to move up ahead, go up the stairs here, going to grab my elven wand because there is a gargoyle here, and there's even more gargoyles here. And when you pick up the yellow key, there's even more gargoyles here. And with all these gargoyles, I'm just going to run all the way back into the room and just start firing my elven wand for a while. Because it's a pretty effective way of clearing out this entire room. Most of these gargoyles are just regular gargoyles and not fire gargoyles. And the ones that are fire gargoyles are usually fighting with the regular gargoyles in this room. And before you know it, if you just hold the attack button for a while, all the enemies in this place are going to be dead. And it makes this fight pretty insignificant. There are 2 buttons on 2 separate pillars, or 1 button per pillar if you will, both leading to a secret area. The first one is for the Hell Staff, and the second one is for a torch. And the torch is not as exciting as the Hell Staff, obviously, but the secret area is a secret area, plus it houses a couple of monsters that we have to kill. And with that, we will move on. Now, going in this direction opens up the stained glass. I will go there in just a second, but first, I'm just going to go down here, grab the Tome of Power. This leads back to the start of the level, so you could use your yellow key there and once again ignore the Molitor. But we are going to go directly to them. But first we have to deal with a couple of wizards hiding behind the stained glass. It's nice to just take care of these as quickly as you can, but generally they don't want to work with you and just get stuck on the window all the time, and that is a little bit tedious. But from here, I'm just going to use my Hell Staff and fire at them for a while. Hopefully all 3 of them went outside, but if not, we'll find out quickly enough the moment we go back here. But they are all dead. So this is a little bit volatile, but I'm going to use my Tome of Power, and I'm going to try and grab the Ring of Invincibility that's in this room and use it immediately. And then I'm going to kill this Iron Lich, because these tornadoes are making it pretty much impossible to do anything. And I'm going to try and grab this Phoenix Rod and use it to destroy the Molitor over here. Having a little bit of difficulty, but with the Tome of Power Phoenix Rod, we are dealing a lot of damage to him, stunning him entirely right now. And before you know it, he's gonna be dead, hopefully. He should be pretty low on health. There we go. And that takes care of that. It's a scary strategy, but it is very quick, and when it works, and it is a lot of fun to do. But with that, we have the yellow key, we have the Phoenix Rod in hand, and we can move on knowing that we've done effectively the hardest part of this level, so that is nice. The yellow key brings us to a room with a couple of Ophidians, and there's a couple of them shooting from behind me, and I think I'm just actually going to use my Tome of Power here and open up everything. There's 3 buttons on that pillar in the middle, and just letting everything loose is a pretty great way of getting maximum effectiveness out of my Tome of Power. So hopefully we can clear out as much as possible like this. Gonna use my flask every now and then. They don't deal too much damage, fortunately, so we can just about tank everything with the flasks we have at our disposal. And before you know it, everything in this area is going to be dead. Would actually be nice to have the Tome of Power active here now that I think about it, but oh well, a little bit too late on that one. Kind of forgot about those 3 disciples hiding behind the Dragon Claw there, but I can shoot a couple rockets in that direction, and that will probably do most of the work in this fight anyway. And that way we won't need to worry about it too much. Over here, a couple gargoyles. This button is going to make the green key accessible, but also opens up a lot of doorways to open up various saber claws in this place, and the Dragon Claw is more than capable of dealing with these various enemies. Gonna be dealing with the disciples that we let loose just a second ago as well, using the Phoenix Rod. For some reason, when I see the Hellstaff, I keep thinking it's the Phoenix Rod unless I actively look at it, but that's just on me. Now there is a couple more things here. There's a lot of ammo waiting for us here for various weaponry, so I'm just going to grab a bit of that. But there is also this particular doorway, which is going inside a little bit further than the other ones. And this leads to another secret area. It leads to the Ophidians that were hiding on the raised platform previously, and are no longer hiding from our sight as we are next to them. But it counts as a secret area, and that's really the main reason. If this wasn't a secret area, you might as well just kill them from below, but this works just as well. And that gives us the Shadow Sphere, which is a bit pointless at this point, because we already killed the Iron Liches, and I don't think we're fighting anymore, but, you know, it's nice to have, I suppose. Picking up the green key opens up a whole bunch of doors, but we have a Hellstaff and a lot of patience, so we're just going to sit in a corner here and shoot wildly, not worry about stuff too much. And we're going to go through the various doorways here to pick up a couple power-ups, like this backpack over here, which brings us to another couple of Saber Claws and an Ophidian, but again, the Hellstaff is more than capable of dealing with these. And I believe when we pick up these gauntlets, we're going to open up yet another door to unleash a few more enemies somewhere in this place. I don't fully remember where, but it's somewhere in here. But if not, we could probably go on our merry way and move on. Maybe I'm just imagining things. I think when you pick up that thing, it just opens up all the doors, and maybe we already opened all of them. And that's why I'm a little bit confused right now. But with that, just gonna go through the green key door. There's only a couple enemies remaining, and most of them are gonna be Saber Claws and Ophidians. So overall, not the scariest thing in the world. There is still a gargoyle somewhere behind me, it sounds like. There we go. But before you know it, we're going to have destroyed just about everything here. And then we can just mosey on to the end of the level. And that is lovely. Over here, a few more Saber Claws waiting for us. They cannot hear us attacking their friends all the time, but the moment we stand in front of them, they know that they have to defend the Mystic Urn that is in this place. A lot of health items, which is, on the one hand, kind of understandable when you try to fight the Molitar normally, because fighting a Molitar regularly can be kind of sketchy, but when you do it like this, you really don't need most of the things, and it's quite nice to deal with them that way. There we go. Grab the armor. This once again brings you back to the start, but we're going to press this button over here, which opens up the exit of the level. There is also an Ophidian here, like right next to me, I think, because I've been hearing it slither a lot. There we go. And there's another one down there. And if that's everything, it is all the enemies, it is all the secrets, and with that, we can leave. This is by far one of the more sketchy levels when you try to do it like this. You can probably also just kill the Molitar from a distance, because he is just stuck in that caged area. And it's easy enough to just ignore him the entire time. But if you want the Phoenix Rod, or if you want all of the kills, then you kind of need to deal with him in some way or another. And this way kind of works. It's not super consistent. I had an attempt where an Iron Lich was sitting on top of the Ring of Invincibility, and then you just sort of die. So try to avoid that, but if you do that, everything's going to be okay. And with that, that brings us to Episode 3, Mission 6, The Halls of Fear. Starting off on this red plateau, there is a bunch of golems on that side, and I would like to ignore them, so instead, we're just going to go over here and hopefully cause some infighting. The Fire Mace can spawn right here, but also, in front of this quiver, which I've already picked up, there's a secret door with a non-secret Ring of Invincibility. It takes you to a non-secret Hellstaff. Actually, all of this is not a secret area, it's just kind of there. But it is a very convenient thing to have at the start of this level, because there's quite a lot of gargoyles, and it's a little bit tedious to shoot all of them with the Elven Wand. There is a non-secret crossbow nearby as well, which is significantly less secret than this Hellstaff. But having a Hellstaff available is just very nice. Not picking up the yellow key just yet, which we do need to continue, because I do want to clear out the rest of this area. I want to make sure that all the golems are dead, preferably, just so I don't accidentally run into a projectile later. Because they do have a tendency to shoot you from a distance, and that's just not lovely. So we're just going to destroy them slowly but surely. There is still a gargoyle somewhere in this vicinity, and I'm hoping to just get rid of everything. Alright, so with that, I'm just gonna go all the way back to the yellow key. And grabbing that will spawn, well, not really spawn, open up a door with a iron lich behind it. But if you're careful, then none of the projectiles will ever really hit you. You can also do this from a distance, because if the ice projectile hits the water, it just disappears, which is very convenient. But there's still the tornadoes and stuff you need to look out for, and this way you can quite easily keep them a little bit stun-locked, kind of. But I'm not going to wait for this tornado. I'm just going to grab everything. Most importantly, the Dragon Claw and the ammo, and move on with my new fancy yellow key, which allows me to go through the yellow key door, which is right here. There is a green key over there, but we can't quite grab that yet. And over here is a whole bunch of enemies, which I'm just going to run past. Press the button to open the door at the end of this corridor. Aggro the Molitar, which you might be able to see outside of the window to my side here. And I'm just going to try to have as much as stuff as possible be available for me. Going through that teleporter after pressing the button puts you back at the start of the level. And this door closes behind you and cannot be opened from the other side. But it is nice and convenient to have every enemy aggroed like this, because it means that they all line up. It makes it a little bit easier to deal with them all at the same time that way. Because I don't think they can actually walk through this door. I don't know if that's accurate, actually. Don't trust me on that one, because it wouldn't surprise me if some of them actually do. Okay, yeah, they definitely can't walk through that door. That was a complete and utter lie. But at the same time, they usually die before they even reach the door, so that is very nice. They are still infighting as well somehow, even though I've just been wildly shooting in this direction. So overall, very good. Also, going through these doors actually opens up a couple of passageways over here, both on the left and right side, both counting as the first and second secret area of the level. And there's also a whole bunch of gargoyles here, so we're just going to take care of everything that is moving. And also grab a couple of health power-ups, because we did get hit a couple times there, and it is just nice to have that all healed up. Now there's also a couple of gargoyles here, which we can quite easily shoot. We can also just kill the Molitar like this, but it is not the most fun way of doing it, because it needs just an absurd amount of elven wand shots. But we can at least deal a little bit of damage. We can get rid of some of the more annoying enemies, which we'll be dealing with later. And we might actually have his attention a little bit more than I want right now because we shot him so much, but that's okay. So for now, we're just going to carefully kill a couple of snakes around corners here. And the main reason that we're being careful is because of another secret area. You might be able to hear a snake to my right. And that's because there's a couple behind this wall, and they will just be shooting at you if you walk straight in front of them, because there is also a window there that they can shoot through. And that is quite tedious. So grab the egg, get the extra stuff, press this button to open up a door on the other side over here. To press this button, that lowers the green key. Then use this button to raise the teleporter door once again, so we can grab the green key and head into the Molitor room, which is fun. Not exactly the place you want to be as much as possible, I suppose, but if we can just get him to walk a little bit away, hopefully we can get the Ophidians to actually shoot him a lot, and that way we won't have to deal with the Ophidians, because they'll just be infighting the whole time. And I'm actually just going to kill this Molitar regularly, because might as well, honestly. There is the Ring of Invincibility in my possession, and it is possible for me to get a, what's it called? A Tome of Power right now. It is currently being guarded by a bunch of wizards, but at the same time, it's also nice to just shoot at a Molitar for a while. It does take a lot of ammo to kill a Molitar, unfortunately, which is why the Phoenix Rod flamethrower is usually the preferable choice. But it requires a lot of walking around to get a Phoenix Rod at this point, so I'd rather just do it like this. But sooner or later, he is indeed dead. There is another Hellstaff over here, which hopefully gives us some Hellstaff ammo. I actually don't know how much ammo that gives you, but it seems like we have received a lot of Hellstaff ammo again, so that's nice. Pressing that button allows us to go in this direction, but going there is going to do some stuff. And actually going through this door previously has opened up 2 more secret areas, and I'd like to just take care of those areas right now, because it's just nice to have over and done with, really. Just gonna shoot the mages from a distance with my Dragon Claw, which is doing wonderful work at taking care of these enemies here, while simultaneously not getting me killed, so that is nice. A fire mace can spawn here, but I am mostly here for the shadow sphere. And a fire mace can also spawn in this secret area as well. And it's not a secret area until you've touched the middle step, so make sure you actually do that. Alright, and with that, we can go back into the green area, go into this raised platform, and I'm actually going to be using my Ring of Invincibility here, because going up here is going to lower the water and spawn or make visible a bunch of these enemies. And actually thinking about it, probably should have walked a little bit further forward because there is a Phoenix Rod up ahead, but at the same time, I like to use a whole bunch of items, and this way I don't need to worry about it anymore. This does count as a secret, and not 100% sure why, because you are going to get destroyed by these Iron Liches if you just let them roam around. But there is another fire mace over here as well, and with all that, we can just continue on through this teleporter, which puts us back at the top here. Going forward, there is yet another one of these. There is the Phoenix Rod that I previously mentioned. And there's just a whole bunch of golems here, so we're just going to be taking care of that with our Tome of Power. Fortunately, it just ran out. I would like the Shadow Sphere to run out at this point, because I don't really need it anymore for the Iron Liches, but I suppose for the Undead Warrior, it's not too bad. Grab the Phoenix Rod to open up a couple doors with a couple wizards behind it. But the Phoenix Rod that we just grabbed is making easy work out of that one. Grab as much as we can and move on. Because over here there is yet another door which has some were dragons behind it. They are all on top of a staircase, so fortunately we can use our newfangled Phoenix Rod to kill them quite easily. And we go to yet another location that can have a fire mace, which is over here. Going up these stairs actually lowers this doorway, so you can pick up the backpack there. And now I need to remember where to go, because first of all we can go over here, where there is yet another secret area that opened up, I think when we went into the backpack area, maybe? Actually don't know. Maybe the staircase, one of those places. And we can actually see the exit of the level over there as well, but I still got some places to go. Because down here is a staircase with a bunch of undead warriors, so I'm just going to be bobbing left and right while shooting my Dragon Claw until I no longer see an enemy. Gonna quickly actually go up here, because this opens up yet another secret with some stuff in it. I guess I might as well actually use the egg here now that I think about it. Because why not? Still have the egg anyway. Might as well use it there. There is yet another secret area when you go up the elevator here, and there's also another location where the fire mace can spawn. And it's also an elevator, so it goes back down when you step back on it. So that's good. There were only a couple golems alive because we killed a few of them through the window on the other side there, so that made life a little bit more convenient. There's a whole bunch of backpacks on this level as well, so there's pretty much no way you're going to run out of ammo here, which is nice. Now, because we have the blue key, we can use one of the various teleporters that definitely... I'm just going to use flight to get back up here again. And fly to this location. We just need to get back to the start of the level and go to the blue key door, which is presiding over here. And there's only a couple of enemies remaining, I do believe. Yeah, that's about it, really. Just a nice little level to feed you. Do we need anything else? I assume we have just about everything. I think we've seen all the fire mace locations and secrets and kills, so I'm just gonna leave. That is the Halls of Fear. Pretty tricky. A lot of different ways you can go about it, especially with the Iron Liches and the Molitar, because you can get them to infight as well with some clever running around. But just having the Molitar be dead does make life significantly easier than trying to make it cool, is basically what I'm saying. But with that, we are going to Episode 3, Mission 7, The Chasm. Now here are 6 cages, each holding 1 snake in total. I'm going to run past these cages with snakes because there's no real point in fighting them, you can just leave. The next room has a couple of golems. I will ignore these also because there's a lot of stuff on the other side. I just want the backpack and I'm just going to run away from all this nonsense. Just going to go to the safest place, which is this door. And now I'm going to start fighting some stuff. We have probably caused some level of infighting. I'm going to open this door and cause a slightly higher level of infighting, hopefully. And with all this mess, I'm just going to shoot wildly in this rough direction. And before you know it, there will be no more enemies in this level, except for all the remaining ones. But until then, I will just a lot of shooting really, as long as you can avoid the various projectiles here. It's probably one of the nicer ways to deal with this whole area, because if you do it in the other room, there's just a lot of enemies shooting you from outside, and you don't really have the weapons to deal with them that adequately right now. Like, there's an Iron Lich over there, and there's mages and all sorts of nonsense, and I'd rather not. But we are going back up here, because behind this door is also a secret area. There's a door that leads into a teleporter. After killing the enemy, turn around, press the button, go through another teleporter, do the same thing again in this room, but this time get a Dragon Claw for your efforts. And with that, we move on to the next area, where there are various undead warriors waiting for us who were failing to open a door. So they are just all huddling next to each other there, hitting me perfectly in the face with a red axe, which is less than ideal, but hopefully it doesn't matter too much. And we're just gonna fight our way onwards. Try and keep some Dragon Claw ammo for the mage here. And press the button to lower an area so you can actually reach the yellow key, which is required to reach the middle area there. But it also opens up this place, which has yet another backpack and all sorts of stuff. Grab the armor, ignore yet again all the stuff in the middle, it's not important. Get the key. There's also some power-ups over here, which I might use some of them. At least I'll probably be using the flask there. But it's also nice that you're pretty safe with all those barrels there from all the projectiles that are getting shot at you. Now there's a lot of saber claws here. Once again, I am going to be running past everything, ignoring these two wizards, ignoring everything here, keeping my Tome of Power ready to use, because I will use it here now that we have angered the Molitor, which is pretty much going to be the main danger for a minute here. I just want to open this door, get the Molitor out, and just have him fight anything that moves, preferably. If we could just get that Molitor to go roughly in this direction where the 100 saber claws are waiting for him here, it'd just be ideal. It would be nice if we can just run past that, use our Tome of Power as long as it's still active on these snakes, shoot some gargoyles after pressing some buttons. The buttons lower another teleporter or another platform. That particular one had a flask on top of it, but it also opened up a path to a Hellstaff. This one actually opens up the doorway, or the portal rather, to reach the green key, which is the main reason why we're here. And I don't know what happened to the Molitor, but I'm happy about it. Also, there is a secret area up here with a couple of were-dragons. And with this green key, we can apparently teleport. I guess I touched the teleporter from up top. The Molitor is right here. I'm just going to use up all my flasks to try and get around this place as well as I can. And barely survive. The start of this level is a little hectic. From this point on, it's going to quiet down a little bit, because the Molitor is actually incapable of going through that door because it's just very, very large. So we can spend some time actually just fighting the enemies quite regularly. If we stand over here, we're probably going to cause some infighting. If we can get some infighting going on with the Ophidian there, that would be lovely, but I'm not overly expecting it. I'm just going to sit over here, and if he's coming all the way down, then yeah, he dies. There is also another Disciple of the Sparrow who is probably nearly dead also, because the Molitor is just continuously shooting down the moment he sees us. But with that, we can actually finally move on down a nice and quiet hallway with a bunch of saber claws. Saber claws are not really the scariest thing in the world. There's some gauntlets here if you so desire. So we are just going to follow the left wall and kill anything that we see, or at least try to get them to come closer to me, so we can see them then and destroy them then. There is a gargoyle somewhere behind me. I heard the sound of a gargoyle at least, but there is plenty of enemies waiting for us up ahead. This particular place is the one where we have to enter. There is a were-dragon waiting for us and also a phoenix orb, phoenix wand orb. And next to the orb is the actual phoenix wand. I believe this is phoenix rod rather. And I think this is the only one in the level, so you gotta find this. This bridge has a lot of wind attached to it, so try not to fall off, otherwise you land in damaging terrain. And getting to this area actually opens up a lot of little caves in the area we were just in. So I'm just gonna run all the way back, ignore all the enemies, and get all the secret things that have just opened up, because while there is still a bunch of stuff to do there, enemies are all infighting with each other right now, so I'm just gonna let them do that while I kill all the stuff over here, and I'll return when they're all done with their nonsense. But first, I'm gonna grab this secret area, because that opened up. This also opened up after going to the blue key. This door opened up, and then finally, I believe it is over here, where the final one opened up. That's 4 secrets in a row, all in the same place. And I think at this point we can go see how everyone's doing. We picked up a flight power-up somewhere in this level as well, and I'm gonna be using that to traverse this place because it's all damaging terrain, and we need to actually reach a slightly higher platform than we can otherwise reach. Be careful of the wind on the bridge, but outside of the bridge there's no wind at all because, sure. But for the most part, as long as you can just keep the Iron Lich's projectiles at bay, this place is not too terrible. Remember to touch the floor, otherwise it doesn't actually count it as a secret area, as is usually the case. But there is a couple of things waiting for us here, but mostly just a really, really large amount of Phoenix Rod ammo, and that is just ideal. Because there is a Molotov waiting for us, and it would be nice if we have enough Phoenix Rod ammo to deal with it, but also the remaining Iron Liches, even though most of them were just pretty close to dead already, due to the fact that all the infighting with the Ophidians actually does a significant amount of damage. Now you kinda need the flight to get out of here, but there is also a couple teleporters waiting for you here. I will just grab some of the health. There is a Shadow Sphere here as well. Don't really need it at this point, but it exists. Because I think we already have a different Shadow Sphere as well, so not too worried about that. But with that, we have everything we need to actually exit the level. We have the blue key. We have an infinity ring, that's what it's called, I'm pretty sure. And with that, we are going to go and fight a Molotov. I could just use the flamethrower again, but this is also pretty effective, and it's fun to switch it up every now and then, provided that I keep my invulnerability. As long as you just sort of stand next to him, he usually doesn't charge too much, and you can just sort of keep shooting him with your quite powerful weapon, and hope that your invulnerability doesn't run out before he dies. And before you know it, you feel like a winner. Look at that. Beautiful. Now this thing opened up way earlier when I stepped onto this platform over here, but there's also 3 Disciples of Despair guarding it. And it's a little tedious to try and grab it at that point, so I usually don't bother. Just gonna make it rain on top of that Disciple right there, who somehow managed to survive all this time, which is fair enough. And I'm gonna use one of the various Shadow Spheres that we picked up throughout the level to deal with the remaining Liches waiting at the exit here. And with that, we have just a couple enemies left to go, because we did keep a couple of them alive at the start. There were a couple of snakes inside cages, and we're just going to deal with them now with our Phoenix Rod, because it makes it significantly easier to kill them than trying to kill 6 of these with just a crossbow, which is definitely not impossible, but just not worth the ammo at that point, really. With that, we have all kills and secrets, and we can just run all the way back to where the level exit is and head our way to the final level of the 3rd episode, which is right here. So yeah, the main thing about this level is just trying not to get killed by the Molotov, and if you manage to do that, you win. But the Molotov is definitely an interesting challenge in this place. You could probably kill him at that point with the ammo that you have, but I don't know if it's worth it. I think you have a ton of power at that point as well, maybe? So there probably is like a possibility of winning that fight, but I think it's more fun to just try and kite him around and get some infighting going on and then kill him at the end, because why not? But with that, we are going to Episode 3, Mission 8, Despairal's Keep. Alright, the final mission of the main game. Immediately surrounded by various gargoyles. Just gonna grab this crossbow and try to kill them all. I mean, it's just regular gargoyles, so they all die in one hit from the crossbow, so it's not too bad. So, before you know it, we are done with the first fight of the last level. Now this level is quite difficult, so preferably you try to retain as much as your resources as possible. You do need to get the Wings of Wrath over here, because otherwise you are not going to be able to get out of this tiny hole filled with water. And just going to open up this secret area with a whole bunch of secret things and go through the first teleporter guarded by 2 disciples waiting to kill us. But not the most difficult thing in the world, provided you stop running into their projectiles over and over. Now after killing these, we can get the Dragon Claw. We can hear the water move upwards as everything rises up. We no longer need the wings, fortunately, and I will actually use my Tome of Power here to deal with this room in particular. It can definitely be done without the Tome of Power, but I just prefer doing it this way. And moving on is one more room, and while we still have the Tome of Power active, might as well kill these Ophidians with it as well. Use the Shadow Sphere against the Iron Lich that is also waiting for us over here. And with all of that... Oh god, he just threw me around. We can press this final button, get a Hell Staff, and move onwards, quickly running forwards, grabbing as much stuff as we can from this place. There is another Tome of Power here, which I will be grabbing in just a second because I fell down, but I do want that. I want to try and get as many power-ups here as possible before we even acknowledge that the boss is currently trying to kill us. He's right there, Desperal, sitting on his Chaos Serpent, I believe it's called. And we are just going to go on a secret area hunt because there is another one over here. And then there is a third one on the other side as well. With that, we can just about start fighting the boss, really. Gonna have the Tome of Power active on my hotbar. Would have been nice if my Shadow Sphere had run out because it makes the fireballs a little bit more difficult to dodge this way. But it worked out, I would say. Arguably, it might be worth to try and collect a little bit more ammo for my crossbow, but it doesn't really matter. The difficult part basically starts upon the destruction of this dinosaur here. It would be nice if you could just stand a little bit closer to the wall here. That would actually just be really convenient, but it does seem like he's taking some irritating paths today. So if you could just walk this way roughly, and I would like to kill you next to a wall, because it just makes certain attacks a little bit easier to hit afterwards. There we go. Just stay right there. Very nice. I was gonna keep shooting him. He just shoots fireballs, so it's not the scariest thing in the world. Gonna use my Tome of Power here and just put a whole bunch of rain and lightning and fire and all sorts of nastiness on top of him. Now, this is where the irritation starts, because this boss teleports, and he teleports very much. And it is an extremely irritating part of this fight, next to the other thing that he can do that combines quite well with this particular irritation. Just gonna use whatever hitscan weapons I have to deal any damage to him at all, because it's really the only chance I have. At least he did take a decent amount of damage from the fire there, so hopefully that's gonna work out in my favor. But the main thing this enemy does is he spawns enemies and he shoots lightning, and after a while he starts teleporting more and more and more, and it really does become a very tedious fight when that does happen. There are not many weapons that can properly hit him when he's teleporting around, and the entire arena is more or less just going to be filled up with enemies the longer the fight goes on. And it can be quite difficult to just even find the boss from time to time because he does teleport oh so much. You really need to get the most out of your flamethrower and be careful to listen to where he's teleporting to. It is probably a good idea not to use the Tome of Power against the first couple of golems like I did, because that way you can actually retain a second Tome of Power into this fight. But it's hard to tell. Having the Tome of Power available to deal with the various disciples that are going to be all over the place here is quite useful, so whatever works, really. If you can manage to kill the boss, then I'd say that's good enough. Whatever works. But we are just going to keep on trying. to find him and hit him. Fortunately, his friends do also attack him, so if you can get a lot of friendly fire going on, that is quite convenient. But for the most part, it is just a matter of running around and believing in yourself and trying not to die to all the 100,000 projectiles that are in this arena. These are all regular disciples. I think I heard him teleport just now, but honestly, it's a mess. It's a proper mess. It is quite useful to have the Chaos device available for this fight as well, because the moment you teleport to the start of the level, all the enemies just sort of go huddle up in that building over there rather than be in random places like they are now. And that can obviously be quite useful. The Hell Staff is not ideal with how slow the projectiles are. You can't really aim for certain things this way, but we just kind of have to make the most with what we got and just kind of shoot wildly and hope that he decides to teleport where our projectiles are. But overall, it is a very difficult boss fight, and we have to be very, very careful with it. It kind of is worthwhile to kill some of the disciples from time to time, just because there are so many of them and it gets kind of impossible to deal with them after a while. But at the same time, you don't want to waste all your ammo when you still have a boss to kill in the end. Having said that, I haven't seen the boss in a bit, and it would be nice if I could find him even once, but I can just see him teleport away every time I do see him. Actually did manage to hit him with the Phoenix Rot there, which is quite nice. But for the most part, he is just teleporting back and forth. He is not actually even attacking for the most part. He is just existing. And as you can probably understand, it is quite frustrating that way. Now I'm keeping the Chaos device in my hand because if I get stuck in a ledge somewhere, it's pretty much my only way out of here. For now, I think I should be able to be fine. I still have the Mystic Urn and the Ring of Invincibility as well, so those can obviously be quite useful for a variety of reasons. But I am running a little low on things, so I will just teleport away. Now, the one teleporter with the secret area next to it is the one that's going to take me back into the fight. So I will just be going through all the different places here to make sure that I have actually picked up everything. But with that, we are once again getting ready to start fighting. All of the enemies are now on that side of the arena, which is lovely. Makes it a little bit more predictable where the projectiles are going to go. But I, once again, am struggling to even find the man. So I'm hoping I can get some work done here with this Ring of Invincibility. I kind of felt like I had to use it there, but I'm honestly not sure. Honestly not sure. Trying to just shoot a whole bunch of projectiles on his direction, but I mean all the other guys are having the same idea, and it's none of us are really managing to hit him that much, unfortunately. It's also quite difficult to tell where he is when everything is the same color, but I mean that's the way it is, unfortunately. Keeping my Mystic Urn ready for when I inevitably take a large Ooh, he's dead! I don't know where he is, but I killed him. Might have actually been killed by friendly fire there. Now, the reason why I'm sounding so surprised is that this is the first attempt where I've actually managed to kill the boss. But yeah, he's dead. I'm feeling good about it. Let's press this button. Let's raise these stairs. Let's make sure we got all the kills and secrets, because everything does die the moment the Sparrow dies, which is very convenient. And with that, we can exit this place and call it a day, with one more final text to mark the end of the main game. The death of the Sparrow has loosed the magical hands holding his creatures on this plane, their dying screams overwhelming his own cries of agony. Your oath of vengeance fulfilled, you enter the portal to your own world mere moments before the dome shatters into a million pieces. But if the Sparrow's power is broken forever, why don't you feel safe? Was it that last shout just before his death, the one that sounded like a curse, or a summoning? You can't really be sure, but it might just been a scream. Then again, what about the other Serpent Riders? And that's that. That brings us to the ending screen, which is a picture of our protagonist slowly leaning upwards towards a mysterious creature with large teeth. And that also concludes the main game. The next 2 episodes that are available are part of the Shadows of the Serpent Riders expansion pack, and we will probably be going through those at some point as well. But that is that. And that concludes episode 3 of Heretic. I hope you've all enjoyed it. Next time we play, we're hopefully going to do the 4th episode of the game, the Ossuary, and I hope to see y'all there. Bye bye.